Hello and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest on today's episode. The one and only Marcus from Siactro Games has joined us. How's it going, Marcus?
Hi. I'm good, I think. Thinking about bananas a lot recently. I don't know why.
Marcus, you're here to talk with us about your games. That's Toree games, and most recently Super Kiwi 64, and some other stuff you've made. All these wonderful retro 3D platformers. We'll talk all about that. We've also got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about in the news. There's been some rumors about a Zelda movie. We're getting some sort of early review type things for the Fire Emblem game. There's some new QA union forming. We got a lot of stuff. We'll talk about all that. But before we get into anything else, how's everyone doing? How are you feeling today? What's going on in your world?
Yeah, I'm doing David. Okay. Yeah, it's a nice Sunday. We're doing a little early record today, which is nice. I've been playing I've just been in Splatoon land. I've been playing a lot of the Splatfest for the past pretty much 24 hours straight. That's not true. I've slept and ate and stuff like that. But yeah, I got to get my head out of Splatoon mode the longer that we do this recording.
Fair enough. Matthew, how are you?
I'm also pretty good. I have a sketch comedy show occurring here on the day that this episode comes out. I'm really excited for that show. I wrote a sketch about ice cream truck music with a DJ named DJ Soft Serve. So I made some radio shit with dumb animal sounds.
That's great.
Bullshit explosions and Duke Nukem quotes. So feeling pretty fun.
Yeah, can't wait to see that.
Marcus, how are you doing? How's your week been?
Kind of boring, actually. I don't know. I haven't been doing much. My weekend is already over. For me, it's
Monday.
No, not yet. Not yet.
I don't know.
It's still
Sunday night.
A bit more than an hour, but when we're done here, it's probably Monday. So I just jump from this directly into work mode and.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad we could facilitate that transition. And where are you, Marcus? Are you in Germany?
Yeah. And right now it's almost 11 p.m.
All right. Yeah.
Actually, I should probably not talk too loud thinking about it, but they used it by now.
Yeah, I'm sure. Game dev is a very noisy process.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone I talk to, most people I talk to are sitting in time zones that only allow me to talk to them during the night. So
yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
I'm doing fine. By the way, everything's fine over here. I don't really have a whole lot to report. Just in case anybody was wondering.
I was wondering. I was really hoping you were well.
Yeah,
just pretending.
I was concerned.
Yeah, you're not going to escape. Tell us.
I don't even know. I feel like I had things to say and now I can't think of them. What even is happening? I don't know. Things are good.
How's game writing going? You're doing a couple gigs.
Game writing is going really great. It's going fine, I guess. It's interesting. I don't know how much I can openly talk about some of it, but it's made the game I'm working on take a little bit of a back seat, which is good and bad, but whatever.
You're still working on the dragon farming sim, right?
Yeah, that's sort of taken up a lot of time, and I think it will over the next month.
Dragon farming sim.
Yeah, I'm working on this game called Firefly Cove. I'm writing for it, just like words, not anyway. Yeah, but I'm writing for a couple other projects too, and then I'm
code is just words for robots. So.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that maybe more when we interview Marcus, because I definitely have questions and thoughts about stuff. But we'll start off with some shout outs before we get to the news and rumors. Man, we had a lot of responses to our last show. So if I don't mention you, please forgive me, but I'm just going to start off with naming some people out. We had a really great conversation on the Discord. Lots of people chimed in with sort of comments about various things, including Donnie, our friend Robert, Scovia, Jay, Cena, Swampy Southpaw, Carusetta, a lot of stuff. Carusetta had a thing similar to what you did with the refund, David. And then over on our YouTube, man, we got a lot of great YouTube comments. Our friend A Talking Sock had a nice prediction about the Switch being able to be the thing they can fall back on if the successor is different. And then them wanting to have a detachable top screen is maybe the next big evolution.
Gotta say, I'm against that. I think we should move on from the dual screen setup, but I like where your head is at Talking Sock.
Yeah. And then we got some comments from like Record 2, who is saying, the Switch is selling so well, but it does kind of, this sort of trap problem therein of maybe wanting a more powerful console. But then also mentioned some of our Tears of the Kingdom speculation and their prediction of going underground or underwater. What do we got? Vincent Goodwin over on Facebook had a prediction that the Switch successor will be announced sometime this year for release 2024, launching with Mario Kart 9. And being
what about you, Marcus?
Compatible.
You have any Switch 2 dev kits? You're holding out on us?
Oh yeah.
He'll just hold it right here. Yeah.
This is where we insert the like Simpsons technical difficulties.
I swear it was you just a moment ago.
But we had, like I said, we got a lot of comments and stuff. So if I glossed over yours or forgot you, apologies. But definitely do send in comments and thoughts on anything we say. We do love to give shout outs when we can, and share our podcasts with your friends and on social media, and like and subscribe on YouTube.
One more shout out. I was having a conversation based on the last episode with Robert Segovia about why people quit games for various reasons. And so this is a little bit behind the curtains for all you podcast listeners, but I thought it was really fun. Maybe do that in a future episode. So if you have ideas about silly or serious why you quit particular games for any reason, hit us up in Discord.
Yeah, that's a great topic. We should do that. And also, if you have a show topic idea, share it with us. Maybe we'll have you on.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with topics every single week.
Help!
That's our call for help.
All right, we're gonna talk about the news and rumors for the week. So first up, Fire Emblem Engage. What am I trying to say? Like, news sources are able to talk about their experience. It sounds like maybe they got the first chunk of it that has been released to media, not like the whole game, based on what I'm reading.
They've been playing the first 8 chapters, as I understand it. Yeah.
So all these sort of previews have gone up, and it kind of sounds like it's a little bit different than Three Houses, a little more focused on the battles and the tactics and that sort of thing. But that I don't know. Also,
so it's
kind
like
of has
less
these other
like relationship, dating sim, and more battle.
Right.
Battle sim.
That's what it
Tactical.
sounds like based on my understanding of these. Though it sounds like there's maybe still that element. It just sounds like maybe if Three Houses went hard on that, this kind of leans back. If that makes sense.
For someone who doesn't really play Fire Emblem, is 8 chapters much, or is that like?
It's like half of it, I would say, maybe.
Yeah, from what they've been saying in it, it feels like there's a good bit more. So I think they might go a little bit quicker in this. It's kind of hard to say because Three Houses used like a calendar system, like kind of like Persona does, and so this kind of is going to more classic, like more like Fire Emblem Awakening, like 3DS style. I think.
I think there was.
But
like
I think they've got a decent chunk of the game at least to make like, early opinions on. Yeah.
Three Houses had like high teens to low 20s chapters, depending on which way you went. So who knows? Like you said, David, this could be different too, right? They could have shorter chapters. Who knows? But I would say at most half the game, probably like a third, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I'm kind of getting a little excited for this game, and I wasn't before. But the more I see about it, the more it looks really pretty to me, and the fact that I liked the whole kind of Persona style, like going to school sort of thing in Three Houses, but this seems to be a lot more streamlined and a lot more kind of to the point and story driven, in a way that is a little bit more palatable, I think. So I think this is a smart move, them putting out a game like this after Three Houses already did a lot to grow the franchise. You know what I mean? Now I think this will get even more people in on it. I don't know. I think it looks really pretty, and the graphics look nice to me.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Like, again, like someone who doesn't really play Fire Emblem. I played one on mobile, but I guess that doesn't count.
Yeah.
like visually speaking, the game looks really, really nice. Also, like with the the main character, who I think the internet calls Colgate-chan or something. You know,
Yeah,
something
it's a
Colgate-chan.
tooth.
yeah.
It's a toothpaste.
Yeah, see, in German it's Colgate.
I like Colgate-chan. I like that a lot better.
No, but I really like that design, and also it feels even more anime kind of. You know, like these very colorful summer anime kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So
Into it.
Moving on from Fire Emblem to Switch sales numbers. This is not official, but VG Charts does some tracking of sales and stuff, and by their estimates, which we'll talk about in a minute, why this isn't really like surprising, the Switch has outsold the Game Boy. That was the next target. The official numbers we have from Nintendo say that the Switch is just under 115 million units sold, and the Game Boy was somewhere like 118, right? So when you consider holiday, it's very likely that the Switch sold 3 or 4 million. I mean, I guess I don't know.
That doesn't include Game Boy Advance, right? That's just Game Boy.
They consider Game Boy
Color.
Advance a separate category, and it long past that. So yeah,
Right.
presumably like what you just said, Game Boy and Game Boy Color is under Game Boy. They get to kind of create these categories. So if they release a Switch, if they release a Switch Pro that's still a Switch, then Switch is going to outsell everything, right? Which DS is really the only next thing.
And PS2, right?
Yeah, well, I guess meant from just the internal Nintendo is DS, which is a little over 150 million, which seems quite possible depending on what the next number they release is, and if they include a upgraded Switch as part of this family. And then, PlayStation 2, right? We'll get these official numbers at some point and find out what the end of the year numbers were. But for now, we're kind of relying on these third-party sort of speculation things. But what I didn't really see the details about this, but there's a note here that in the UK, I guess it's the Switch outsold the PlayStation 5. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I think it's just at the very end of the year. The PS5 was doing pretty well in the UK. It was sales numbers, and like at the very last moment, eked out the PS5.
Gotcha.
Because the PS5 has now sold like 30 million units or something like that. Like it's now, getting possible to buy them. Clearly, 30 million people have. But it's also like. It's interesting because like we don't have to harp on this too much, but it's like there's been a lot of talk about whether or not like brick and mortar retail will ever see for like future generations of consoles if if they'll even sell them in person anymore, because it's now getting to a point where because of the restrictions on development and stuff like that and like the production line and all that, they've only really sold digitally, and that's been working just fine for them. They've basically been selling out constantly. So there's a lot of talk to be had on that model. I kind of hope that never happens because I think it's nice to just walk into a place and be like, oh, I feel like buying a PS5 today. But I don't know. We'll see.
Moving on to the next item is a rumor. Apparently, the website Giant Freaking Robot, which I am not personally very familiar with, had a story that they have a source, and I guess I read somewhere that they have been correct about things before, but I don't know what to say. That they have a source that says Illumination, we all know Illumination, the company that's helping Nintendo make the Super Mario Bros. Movie, responsible for the Minions, and everybody's favorite CEO, Chris Meledandri-san.
One of my faves.
We love Melodrama-sama.
It's a little inside joke here, Marcus. But anyway,
he's the CEO of Illumination.
He's the CEO of Illumination and Shigeru Miyamoto's BFF. Yeah, they are in love.
And also the Minions' daddy. All of them.
Anyway, the point is,
it's a lot to take in, Marcus. I apologize
sorry.
Information overload.
It's fine. I was wondering who is the father of every single minion.
That's
he got busy.
Meledandri, son of Illumination Studios.
Giant Freaking Robot has a source that says the Illumination is making a Zelda movie, similar, presumably, to the well, maybe not similar in tone, but just like they've made this deal with Nintendo to make the Super Mario Bros. Movie, there's a Zelda movie in the works. So What do y'all think about that? Do you want Illumination to make a Zelda movie?
I mean, this would make tons of sense, right? And it would make sense that if they are working on it, it would already be well into production, right? Considering how long animation production cycles can be. And then this would set it up nicely if the Mario movie does well, that they can just like announce it right away. Like, we're doing Zelda next, right? I kind of don't want this to be true though. I think, and not just because I want to make the Zelda show, but I mean, I do think that Zelda would work better in like a 2D animated, like anime style or live action versus necessarily like an Illumination thing. But I don't know. That's kind of just me personally, what I would like to see from Zelda. But I think like a serialized Zelda thing would be better personally. But I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I was about to say that because like with Zelda, it feels more like different episodes. You know, even when you play it, well, at least the old Zeldas with like all these dungeons. Like after a dungeon, you were done for a moment. You took a break, and you came back to it later.
Sure.
This would fit way better into the format of a series than. I mean, 8 dungeons in a whole movie, like in one movie.
Yeah. They do a trilogy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. How do you capture the tone? I mean, if it is Illumination Studios, who is known for like the Minions and the Grinch, Secret Life of Pets, Sing, like, how do you capture the tone of A Legend of Zelda? That is true to the series, but it's not quite as playful as like Mario Brothers or like the Minions.
Right. Like, have they done anything that isn't a comedy? Like, would they just make it a comedy?
Yeah, it doesn't look like. Most of it airs on the side of children's movie / comedy, and not quite like a dramatic interpretation of something.
Well, I get what you say. Miyamoto came up with Zelda and Mario. So, depending on what actual tone it's gonna be, it might work. And I can kind of see them going more in this Breath of the Wild kind of style, and just like visually wise, that's a lot closer to the whole colorful world stuff, and I mean, they will feature the little what were they called, the wood,
the Koroks.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that would be the minions of this movie.
Yeah.
I was thinking it'd be cuckoos, but yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
Whatever, whoever makes it, I can't wait.
Well, whoever makes it is Link talking in this. I think he has to, right?
Yeah.
So that begs the question on who's playing Link and why is it Chris Pratt again?
It's me. It's Link.
Yes.
That's what he says.
Wahoo!
Oh boy. Well, we'll find out someday if this is true or not. Maybe, I guess. Moving on.
Or not.
Or not. We'll never know. We'll never know.
I'm sure we'll know.
Games Done Quick, the January version, awesome Games Done Quick, shortened to AGDQ, is happening. It just started and it runs through the next week, through Saturday.
Oh yeah, I'm missing Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, it's going on right now. Yeah, me too. I'm
runs through Saturday the 14th. It just started the day we're recording this, which is Sunday, and this episode will come out on Wednesday if all goes well. So you have a handful more days to watch the speedrunning event, the biannual, twice a year speedrunning event, Games Done Quick. There's a note here about the founder that's leaving, right?
One of the founders, Mike Uyama. This is his last AGDQ. I don't think he's like being ousted or anything. I think it's just like his tenure is completed, which is, he definitely, because it started as very, very small event and it's turned into this huge thing. But I love watching AGDQ so far. There was, I saw it opened with a Splatoon 3 single player run, which was nuts. And then I saw a Breath of the Wild run that was using all new speed strats that I'd never seen before, including like holding onto a rocket or holding onto a bomb and using it as a rocket to like get over to Ganon's castle, which was really bizarre looking. So it was cool. But Marcus, I know you speed running is kind of a big element of a lot of your games. Do you watch these a lot?
Well, the speedrunning was more an accident. Honestly, it wasn't planned, but
Right.
I do like to watch like especially like these marathon kind of speedrunning stuff, that goes for a few days. It's just relaxing. So yeah, I've seen some games done quick things, awesome summer, whatever they're called. I've seen some.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
No, I wanted to add something more worthwhile, something meaningful, but
but we don't. But that's not possible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next up,
just watch it. Just go on YouTube and watch the reruns.
Yes, I don't know. It's fun to watch. What more can I say?
That's all that matters. Well, next up here in the U.S., there aren't a lot of video game unions, but there's been a big push towards it. And there has been yet another one made. So I think this makes only like 3 or 4 now, but a big one actually in a lot of ways. It's QA, which is notoriously one of the underpaid, overworked parts of game dev, which all is. But QA workers at ZeniMax, which is the parent company for Bethesda and is owned by Microsoft, right? So the QA workers at ZeniMax have, I guess, voted to form a union, and Microsoft has agreed to not challenge that or has recognized the union. So I think there are still maybe steps that have to happen. I don't honestly know it's a big process where they are in all of that because I haven't done a deep dive into this, but it sounds like just a great thing that's happening. Right? Because some of the previous ones have met with resistance, like the ones at Activision, the QA workers there. So it's nice to see that. Maybe they're just doing it to earn brownie points, right? Matthew, is that your speculation? That they're not challenging it because...
I thought you were saying there's a darker conspiracy that this is actually a plan from Microsoft coming up from the bottom so they can buy Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
that
Okay.
too. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wait,
you can see how distrusting we are.
They don't.
I'm just saying the reason that Microsoft might be like putting up no fight about this union is to say, hey, look at us. We're pro-union. And if you let us buy Activision, we will, allow unions to form.
Yeah, Marcus, to your question, it hasn't been approved yet. So
okay.
They're waiting for...
I'm not really I'm always late to news like this.
Yeah, governments haven't approved it right now. FTC, which is the Federal
US
Trade Commission in the US, are investigating the purchase of Microsoft and Activision Blizzard.
Everyone in Europe seems fine with it. It's really just the US that's been the holdout.
Yeah.
I
think that this could be good. It is fascinating to me always to see that union efforts are coming from like usually the lowest role in game development and kind of moving upward, starting at QA. I'm interested when we hear it from like writers or designers or some kind of unions to support other groups inside of game development. I wonder when that will happen. This is a great start.
I would say that is all but inevitable if you look at other industries, like particularly like the animation industry is unionized like all the way up to the top. And that is only really something that's happened in the past couple of years as well. And I feel like a lot of what's been happening in video games has kind of mirrored that labor movement as well. So yeah, hopefully this continues to snowball, but it helps to have a company with a lot of public eyes on them right now being the one that, like, if you are any of the companies owned by Microsoft right now, I'd say now is your time to go do this if you've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Also, like, it's so important. It's so weird that it took so long to happen, because I mean, you can't tell me that like most like bigger companies, there is crunch. There's always crunch, right? So I'm just kind of also confused that it took so long for so many to just basically say like, yeah, okay, that's it. We need to do something because it can't go on like this. It's just weird, but yeah, it's good news. It's definitely good news. I used to be QA for a year, I think. Then they kicked me out.
Yeah. I mean, that's why the QA people are like, this is enough is fucking enough, man.
Yeah.
Let's get on with this. Yeah.
So coming back to your question, Patrick, I think it's mutually beneficial. It's beneficial to Microsoft for them to like say like not give it a thumbs up, but like a sideways thumbs up. And then for the QA folks to organize around this time when it would look bad for Microsoft. It's probably good on both sides.
Well, we don't really have the results of the current Splatfest. So in Splatoon 3 right now, there's Splatfest going on, and typically we are able to say who won and talk about that. But just because we're recording this a little bit early so that Marcus doesn't have to stay up until 3 a.m. or whatever, we don't know the answer to this yet, but the Splatfest has been going on. This has been the first one where they've adjusted the tricolor battles to be constant, and I will say that has been a lot of fun. I think we can talk about that. Maybe we will have more to say about all this next week, but I've enjoyed guaranteed tricolor battles where it doesn't like matter which side, you know what I mean? Where you can end up on any side of it. It's been a lot more fun.
Well, it's got to be great for you when you're playing with your kid too, because it's just teams of two anyway. And so you guys just squad up together and play. Yeah.
And also just pure anecdotally, we did really well so far on the tricolor battles. Like I don't know about y'all, anybody who's been playing it, but man, we got just destroyed playing normal Splatfest battles yesterday and Friday or whatever. Like it was almost not fun. We just lost badly.
Yeah.
To
First
Team
day,
Sweet.
First day was pathetic. Like, and pretty much the beginning of day two. Like, and like everybody I was playing with, we were like, this is like incredibly tough. We're Team Spicy, by the way. And Team Sweet has just been completely demolishing. But it has started to change past halftime. I do think the new balancing stuff is good. It's nice to be able to play that whenever. And also, as a little plug for the video version of the show, I'm going to just flash on the screen right now the winner of the Splatfest, since I'll know.
So that we don't have to talk about it next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. We'll do that. And then last up, Nintendo's running a New Year sale on the eShop that went live a couple days ago and will still be going on for another, 3 or 4 days after this podcast comes out. It'd be going on until January 15th. So definitely, go check that out. There's a bunch of games on sale. And hey, while you're at the eShop, why not just pick up, one or more of Marcus's games?
No, they suck.
If you're looking for, deals and stuff, man, you could definitely do worse, but we'll talk more about that. Is there anything about in the sale anybody wants to mention?
You could pick up the entire Siactro library for about the price of a coffee. So it's definitely worth checking out. Yeah.
We're going to talk with Marcus about his games and developing them and great detail here after this short break. All right, we are back, and this week we are talking with Marcus from Siactro Games. We're going to be talking all about the Toree games, Super Kiwi 64, some of the other games, and development, and all kinds of stuff. Let's get into it. Marcus, first off, just if you could just tell us maybe a little bit about yourself and why or how you got started in making games and as much as you want to share, I'm sure just a little bit of background would be great.
I'm happy to share it, but like these stories when they ask people, hey, why did you start doing this thing? And they're like, oh, I just like playing this as a kid or whatever, like how it's always the same exact boring story.
Is that yours?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's not a boring story, though. I mean, it's obviously a universal one, right? And
it's relatable to our audience, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, and for all the people like that have that story, there's a lot of people out there that like had that dream and didn't pursue it, or like need somebody to say that they pursue. You know what I mean? Like,
no, totally. I mean, okay, to maybe to add something more interesting. At first, when I started doing game stuff in I don't know when, for years, I was convinced that what I'm doing is just like the best stuff ever. Like I was honestly so convinced that I'm doing fantastic work.
Right.
And that even like went into I studied game design at a university later on, and for the longest time there, I was still very convinced that I'm just the chosen one or whatever. And it took some convincing that I'm not. I had to convince myself, actually, which was funny. So maybe it's even worse than the usual story.
It's like it's nice to have the confidence, right? But then also, I mean, it's like we're all comedians, right? Like we come from a comedy background, and it's like I know, like I do a lot of like improv comedy, but I for a while was doing stand up, or I was trying my hand at stand up, and I was always like doing them at clubs that I knew, or like kind of my home theaters and stuff like that, and I'd always crush it. And then it was like I go out and I start doing like open mics at other places, and then I was like, oh, okay, now I'm not what I thought I was. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of come to earth moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, you said a couple things. You said you went to school for it, and you said that you worked in QA. But I mean, we're here largely to talk about sort of your indie games in Siactro. So, like, when did you decide to start making games on your own or with a small team? And maybe you can tell us about that part.
Okay. In I think 2012, like I was doing games for forever. I started when I was like 13, I think, with a friend of mine. We started doing like little fan games in the RPG Maker, and something even more primitive than that. And we were mainly doing Sonic fan games for some reason. And like at some point I was like, okay, maybe I should do like my own stuff instead of copying things. I mean, I still copied things, but I tried to pretend I'm not. And I think in 2012, I released my first game, like, that you could commercially buy and all that stuff. And I think it sold around 4,000. Oh, yeah, it was on the Xbox Live Indie Games thing for the 360 at the tail end, where there were basically only like apps that made your controller vibrate. It was a weird time. It was
Yeah.
And that anyway, so I released my first game on there. I was still very convinced that I'm, just did the best game ever for its price tag. And it sold like 4,000 copies. And that was my most successful game for the next almost 10 years.
Was it what game was that that you released on Xbox?
I have no idea. I forgot the name of it.
Obviously very important to you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was like this kind of weird arcadey thing where you were playing like this small character that was totally not Link. And he had like a really big sword, and you were just hacking away at enemies that had like 0 HP. So in a way, it was kind of like, and not unlike Vampire Survivors, just in completely boring and bad, and like this is the first draft to check out if it actually works kind of way.
Sure. So this is well before like Macbat. Stuff like, yeah.
Actually, I can. Yeah, there's like a long process, but it all went from this game to Macbat. It's like a straight line of related story things. So
that sounds like a combat based game, but a lot of, or at least a couple of your games that I've played, and my understanding of some of the other more recent ones, are more platformers, right?
Yeah.
So what made you shift focus or decide to focus on platformers?
So after my third Xbox game, like they went down in terms of sales, and well, I mean, the second one was better in terms of quality, but not much. It just looked better. And well, afterwards, like this whole Xbox Live thing got stopped or ended or whatever, and I didn't try to get into the next thing because I don't know. And I I don't know. At the time, I wasn't really sure what to do. I worked on a game with two friends, and it was fun and all, but I needed something personal for me. So I watched an interview with Grant Kirkhope at the time, which I didn't know existed before. Like, I had no idea who actually worked on games like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff. And it was actually really interesting. And I started thinking about Banjo-Kazooie and all that, and how fun it would be to play something like this again, and how fun it would be to try to make something like this. So that's when I made like the first Kiwi 64, which was like a one-level freeware kind of thing in 2014, I think. So, and it took me like 6 months because I didn't know anything about programming stuff like this, and I released it, and it was so fun that I tried to make other things afterwards, but making this was just so fun that I at some point I was like, okay, you know what, I'm making a sort of sequel thing, and that turned into Macbat.
Right. The kind of like collectathon roots had already taken hold. Yeah,
more like the jumping part and the worlds, but yeah,
totally. Yeah, I think it's funny, and we'll get into some of these other games here in a second, but it's like, I feel like now more than ever there's this huge resurgence in this classic 3D platformer era from the 32 and 64-bit era, right? I mean, Toree, it's definitely like those, Super Kiwi 64, like you said, are kind of like these throwback platformers. Feels like you were kind of a little on the earlier side of that. It was like, I feel like that was still when everybody was doing like 2D pixel platformers. You were already kind of like had your eyes on the low poly 3D platformer prize, which is now like such a huge, I mean, it's, I'm on Twitter a lot and just to, I'm in that area of Twitter a lot. It's like I follow all these different game devs, like Bryce Booker, I believe is his name, and a lot of those guys who do the low poly stuff. And it's like there's this like resurgence of that now, and it seems like you were on that a little bit on the earlier side. Yeah,
I mean, I guess so. Like not only the visual style, but also like the whole 3D platformer thing in general. Because I was trying to look at other 3D platformers at the time, like in 2013, and there actually weren't that many, that I could kind of steal from. So,
so you had to go to the classics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Totally.
No, I was already stealing from the classics, so I had to steal some more to not make it that obvious. But
I think something else I'm really interested in talking to you about is that a lot of your games, especially these recent ones, and maybe even going back to your early games, are a lot of shorter experiences, right?
Yeah.
And I think, when people talk about shorter video games, sort of in the bigger video game space, they still mean something that's maybe 5 hours long, right?
Yeah.
But there is this I don't know what the right word is, niche or smaller market of even more micro games that you can beat in an hour or less, maybe even, right? And I think a lot of your games fall closer to that if or under that range. And I'm wondering how, is this something that you intend to do, or does this suit your personality, or is there a strategy around it, or is it just sort of like, because somebody making a game too, right? I'm really like, I kind of wish I had done that. Like, I kind of wish I had thought to make, scope creep happens. How do you avoid scope creep, Marcus? Like,
okay. So, I don't know how much time we have, but that's
this is a big question for you.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I get that comment. Like, I get a lot of comments. I mean, I don't get that many comments, but from the comments I get, there are a lot of comments that are like, "Oh, this was cool, but way too short. Why don't we make longer games?" And I'm sitting there, and it's like, I would like to make a longer game, but I'm just way too distracted. Like, when I mean, the reason why another reason why the first Kiwi thing took 6 months, it wasn't just because I had to learn all this stuff, because I mean, you just jump around and you collect stuff. It's not that hard. But it's also because because I got sidetracked a lot, and I just over the process of working on a game, and you probably know this yourself. Like every creative person probably knows this. But when you're working on a project, you get all these other ideas, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, but this is really cool. No, but this time it's really, really cool, and you just like you kind of try it out, and at some point, like after. No, actually, before Macbat, I don't know, somewhere around Macbat, I got actually really, really frustrated that we have short movies, we have like short literature, we have short comics, we like even have like these web comics with like 3 panels. Why don't we also have like short games? Because that's like the only thing I apparently can do. So I just was like whatever. I just tried and got a bit lucky.
I mean, honestly, I love it, right? Like as somebody, especially who plays a lot of games, it's like I pick up a lot of games and then I drop them because I have myself a really bad attention span, Yeah. So it's like a game like Toree or Toree 2 or Macbat or Super Kiwi. It's like these games. Well, first of all, it's an incredibly low barrier to entry. I think it's very smart pricing them at like 99 cents, or like with Super Kiwi is like $3, right? For the whole thing on Switch. And so, and Steam. And so it's like the barrier to entry is super low. So you're not worried about wasting any time. And then by the time you're done, you're like, oh my God, the game is done. Now I want to like S rank everything. You know what I mean? It actually like makes you want to go in and actually complete it. You know what I mean? And and so for me, somebody who has really low attention span, it's great. And then of course these games, I think by the nature of like how they are, and especially the Toree games with kind of the speedrunning element, like they're kind of great for little bite-sized bits of gameplay, right? And so I think it just helps all of that out really well.
Yeah. During my university, at some point, I tried to explain what I mean when I talk about short games and why they could be good. And I had like I tried to explain it with like this scenario. Like imagine it's a Tuesday evening, right? It's like not Wednesday yet. You still have so much from the week, but Mondays. Or it's like this weird in between day, and it's the evening. You don't really know what to do with yourself, and then it's like that's the perfect time to play a game like this. I feel it's just like this thing that squeezes in there, and you can get entertained for a short while, and it doesn't, outlive its welcome, and that's it. You're good,
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the perfect scenario.
I think it's wonderful.
Me too.
I think that in a lot of ways, and like your games are great examples of what this sort of, I almost want to call it like, they're not like mini games, but like something, but like that a short game. But again, a lot of people still think a short game is 5 to 15 hours. Like, but like a shorter game can be and can do, and it's a wonderful experience to sit down. It's like you said, a TV show or something, or a movie, right? Like, you pay for a movie, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours of your time. A game like, Toree, you can beat in an hour, whatever, depending on your skill level, right? And it's just a wonderful experience. And I think me playing through Toree was a great example of that, where at first, I might like, I got into it and I got in the groove, and then you beat it and you're like, yes, I did something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's always in your, just at like a meta level, it's like always in your library with all your other games. So it like has the same amount of like space like in your brain as like all like the big AAA games that you have like in your library as well. But you paid like a fraction of the price and played for a fraction of the time, but it like lives rent free like at the same amount as all the bigger games. So it's a nice little hack. Yeah.
And I'm curious about how that's working for you. Like, I don't know. I know you probably don't want to get into this, and that's fair, but like, is it working well? Like, I know there's probably a lot of people that are like resistant to that, right? They see it as $1 and they're like, it's probably not worth very much value, or like, it's only a 30-minute, hour long game, whatever. Like, but is it working well? Are there people responding well to this? I mean, because you're kind of an ambassador for this idea of a game that you can beat in an hour in a lot of ways.
I mean, okay, so the thing was when we released Macbat for Switch. Okay, I need to go back a bit. So
sure.
sorry. So at some point I got this message on Twitter from a now friend of mine. I didn't know him before, but he basically wrote me like, "Hey, you want to put Macbat on Switch?" And I'm like, "Sure, I would love to, but it's like, it's done in a super old Unity version, and I can't port it to anything newer." And he was like, "Oh, it's fine, I can try it." I mean, yeah, sure, go ahead. And it took him like a few days to achieve this. Like it worked, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then when it came to actually releasing it, I was like, "But we can't price it higher than €2 because the PC version is at €2, and I don't want to be like, hey, this is on console now, so you pay me more." I don't know. Felt weird. So we did it at $2, and it sold surprisingly well in comparison to on it flopped on PC, but on Switch it was a bit better, and that just made me think like, okay, maybe people were more willing to try out this thing they didn't see before, because it's $2. If it's bad, then okay, life lesson learned. So I suggested, why not try this out again with like an even lower price tag, and a game that I could do in 4 months, which became Toree. It was planned for 3 months, but it turned into 4.
Yeah.
It's still amazing.
Yeah. Can't get over that crunch. Yeah.
And at first it sold horrible, like both on Switch and on Steam, because people saw it. It's like, it's colorful, it doesn't have much stuff in the levels, it's $1. Yeah, this is one of those games. This is one of these games that you see for like 39 cents at some point in a sale, and that actually happened. I just realized that actually, damn it. But so people were reluctant to try it out. And then, the right people basically picked up on it. Like, there was like this Nintendo Live video where they compared it to Balan Wonderworld. It was, it was like this perfect spot to be, basically, right. And to get, to get super lucky. And also many other content creators picked up on it, and it kind of started like getting attention. So it was kind of a gamble, the whole pricing it at the same price as random anime puzzle game on Steam, and then getting like super lucky that the right people started talking about it. So yeah. And like I said, at first it definitely failed. Like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was like, okay.
Yeah, I think word of mouth is still, at the end of the day, pretty much the best thing you can hope to have for marketing, not only in an indie sense, like either in video games or movies or whatever, but even like the big, there's just so much content everywhere. The big major movie studios all oftentimes rely on word of mouth to like really get people out into the theaters, right? And so it's like there's definitely an amazing amount of value in that. And I think also this is something I've wanted to talk to. There's a few developers I've seen do threads on this, but about a lot of the eShop has kind of turned into this weird strategic place where I think people kind of play the system a lot. And I think even Nintendo did a bit to, like if you're discounting your game from $20 to $1 just to get visibility on the front page, like that doesn't really happen anymore. But for a while it did. And I think that like there was always something really disingenuous when you would see that in the eShop where you're like, oh, okay, you're clearly just pushing this down to $1 to get eyes on it for a sale. But I think a game that comes out at $1, it's like, it's the disingenuousness isn't there, or disingenuity or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it feels a little bit more like authentic, and like you're putting your foot forward with that original price rather than like trying to trick somebody into buying your game at a cheaper price, Yeah,
but this is like also some comments I've seen. People wondering how this was even possible, because it was around the time, I think, when Nintendo announced that they are not allowing these $1 sales anymore, because they got confused. They just thought $1 as a price in general is just a no-go anymore. So,
but I guess it was just for discounts, I suppose.
It was.
Called the line at that. Yeah.
So I can never discount Toree on Switch.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah.
I think also like the thing that maybe you're fighting against too is sort of shovelware, right?
Yeah.
The people price crappy games, right? Or just stuff that is broken at that kind of price
AAA
point.
clock.
So you like, there's the resistance of like, oh, a game can't be worth anything if it's that low price that you're kind of having to fight upstream against a little bit too. But
no, definitely. At some point, I even tried to describe it as like shovelware that's not bad. Because to explain,
pickaxeware rather than shovelware. Yeah.
No, but to explain, I'm actually one of these weird people who I go on Steam and look for games and like set the the special offer and then lowest price, and I look at these 39 cents games because I really enjoy a lot of them, and I'm not ashamed to say, So that's probably where the idea came from, because I like finding like these weird little kind of shitty games that are actually fun to play. So
that's actually that's great to hear for someone who just going back a little bit for what David was saying is like, I'm the type of person who is reluctant to pick up a game because I want to beat all of the games. So if I'm gonna buy a game, I'm gonna spend the time to like beat the one or the two games. So this, your type of game appeals to my persona as well, of someone who likes playing these short experiences. But searching for 39-cent games on Steam is totally a new thing to me. I've never thought about doing that ever on the eShop or in Steam.
At least Steam has reviews, so you can.
Right? Yeah. I think there's. We're the problem, the general consumer. We have like these high expectations of games, of what quality should mean, and quality and like length or joy of an experience is like tied to these different ideas. But this segment of games that are short, like your games, like Toree 2, I think I beat it in like 45 minutes, 60 minutes or something like that. It's really short, super fun. It's like it's so new to me. Mm-hmm. Like it's just an experience that's like so new to all of my game experience of like playing a game for more than $5 almost, my entire life.
Yeah. One of my favorite developers is Terry Kavanagh. I don't know if you're familiar with any of his stuff. He did VVVVV. And that was when I first, because I took a game writing class in college, and I never ended up doing much with it. But one of the games I wanted to make was really inspired by his game Don't Look Back, which I think was like a Flash game originally, maybe. But that's one. It's like almost like a story-based platformer with no dialogue that you can beat in like 45 minutes. And it's like, I don't know. I don't want to harp too much on that whole thing, but it's like, I think I just want to see more of that, man. I love it.
Yeah. I think that, we as gaming, people who game age, which is like, I'm in my 40s, and I think you hear this sentiment a lot of, I want shorter games. I don't have 100 hours to play a long game. Yeah. And I think it's a niche that's going to grow, and I think it's great. And this idea of like, not just 3 or 4 hours, but 30 minutes to 40 to an hour is great,
And like game design wise as well, I have to imagine that it's beneficial for just polish and tightening. And it's when you don't have a million levels to like play test through, or like, you can really hone your mechanics that you're trying to get like down to the nitty gritty of exactly where you need, especially in a game like Toree, right? Where it's like, it's super speed based. Like some of those S ranks, or there's even like higher ranks than S rank, right? There's like a perfect S or something.
No, S is the highest.
Okay, S is it. Okay. Regardless, getting some of those S ranks were like, I had to like really figure out exactly how the game worked in order to get some of those times. You know what I mean? Like getting the cutting across and how far you can go off the platform before you can jump and stuff like that,
But to be fair, like at least half of the levels in both Toree games are not made by me. They are made by friends of mine who help me out. Also, some of the levels are made by my Switch friend.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You have a
I
small
can-
team or what? Yeah.
well, like I basically it's just me for the most part. But I got a couple friends who help me out on when there's like level design stuff, especially with Toree, because I just ran out of ideas I can do with like the same 3 things or whatever.
Yeah.
But also like QA and obviously Switch publishing, which I don't do myself. I have no idea
Right.
what this is all.
Yeah, I noticed that it was all under a different publisher.
Yeah, exactly.
You self-publish on Steam though, is that correct?
Yeah, because he doesn't really like PC gaming that much. Like he doesn't hate it. It's just not for him. He likes consoles. And I still had my Steam thing set up from Macbat. So
Gotcha.
it just
Gotcha. What do you prefer? Like, do you like working with a publisher, or do you prefer self-publishing when you have the chance?
I mean, I definitely prefer self-publishing. And I don't consider this actually a publisher. It's just because he has access to it, and that's why he does it. But the whole quote-unquote marketing and PR stuff is all mostly done by me. Like he has some important contacts in terms of Nintendo content creators, so he's taking all this part in his hands. But like all the timing, all that stuff, and when and how and what is mostly done by me, or at least the final decision is. So I don't really know how it is to work with a publisher.
Sure. Yeah.
But I don't feel it at all. It's just I want to be in control and just do my own stuff. And if it fails or sells like just 100 something copies or whatever, that okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, especially without a publisher, it doesn't. Yeah, you've got all the proceeds then, or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, the what?
You get more proceeds then, right? So if it doesn't do as well, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's too. Like games that are sold this cheap, it would be really difficult with a publisher.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're gonna be taking the 30 cents that you would have seen from the sale. Yeah.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah.
I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but you were just talking about like collaborating with others and working with other people for the Toree games. I noticed another big game that I love this year, very much in the similar kind of style, in the low poly style and the platforming, was Lunistus by a Grumpy Fox, which was an excellent game as well. And Toree is an unlockable character in that game. And honestly, that's my favorite way to play that game. I just like the hard mode element of that mode in that game in particular, and taking away all the combat, making it more like your games. And then I saw there was also another game when I was looking up the publisher on Switch on the eShop. There's also Regina and Macworld, where they used Macbat as a character in it as well. And that was not your game, correct? That was somebody else's game that you lent the character to.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right? But I made one of the levels for it. Like there's like this special category, and I made a level for this. But this is actually by my Switch friend. So he made that game.
Oh,
and was like,
right.
Hey, can I use Macbat? I was like, yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah.
Same with Lunistus. I can't pronounce it.
I've never heard it out loud. I just say it out as I read it.
We're actually friends, and I even I've been a guest on some of his streams when he was working on the game, and so I heard him say that name like I don't know how many times, and I just can't pronounce it. It's embarrassing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you've pretty much answered my question, but it's just kind of like, how does that come around? Is it really just like a, hey, I kind of want Toree in this game. Are you cool with that? Is that kind of how it goes? Yeah.
Basically.
That's great. I love it. I mean, it reminds me a lot of like the earlier days of the indie game sphere, where you would see like Commander Video from the Bit Trip games and all these, or like Meat Boy would be in all these other indie games. You know, it just gives me this, it gives you this nice like sense that like the indie community is sort of got its own Smash Brothers sort of situation. You know what I mean? It's like this kind of shared indie universe. Which it's just nice to see.
Actually, there was like some developer recently who asked me, like they are working on a 3D platform, and they asked me if they could get Macbat for it as an NPC because they like the game, and it's like, yeah, sure, You know, it's I don't know. I like this too. You know, when they're like Easter eggs and cameos and in between games. In fact, like I don't know if you've heard about the Hub World Direct, which happened I think last year, early last year.
Hop World, is that what you said?
Yeah, Hub World, like like a Hub World in a game, and
Hub World, yeah.
Yeah. So and we're still active on the Discord, and this happens frequently on there. Like, hey, I kind of need something to fill this one part of my game, and others like, yeah, you can use my character, you can use this. We even have like this channel full of resources of hey, if you need something from another game, just go here. So this is really fun, really fun.
Thanks for introducing that to me. I'm definitely all of the games in this direct.
Oh yeah,
are right up my alley. Like Demon Turf and I was playing Crumble recently. Yeah, Frogan is really good. Yeah, all of that stuff. I feel like I said, I feel like we're just in this like 3D platforming renaissance right now. Which is really amazing to see. Where it's like everybody is really focused on getting just the tightness of the controls and the gameplay down, right? And that's like so important. Where everything has become so flashy, right? Just like not losing sight of like the core mechanics of your game and then building all off of that. It's really nice to see these days.
I guess I'd also like, is there anything, I mean, I don't know if there's any other important questions anybody wants to ask, please jump in. But I'm kind of curious, Marcus, if there's any hint you can give us about what you're working on right now, would be one thing I wanted to ask before we wrap up. And if you can't, that's understandable, or you don't want to.
Not really.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, there's something very small I work on. It's probably maybe gonna release, well, not soon, but in a few months. But it's not something major. It's just something little, small, So not really, sadly.
Well, we'll look forward to that thing in a few months.
Well, I certainly do have. I do have a couple more questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'd love to ask. Well, first of all, I did want to talk about. Beanie because I love Beanie, and it was funny because when I found the first way I found Toree was through the itch, one of like the itch like mega bundles that they did. You know what I mean? Like with like the thousands of games in them or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was like, so I picked it up and I had my Steam Deck at that point. And so I was doing this thing where I was going through itch and like loading up all like the games that had Linux versions or whatever on my computer, or even some of the PC ones, and just seeing what worked. Because a lot of the Steam Deck is just like kind of trying to sideload games and seeing how you can get them to play, right? And I was like having issues like with the Steam interface, like getting, or the compatibility layer or whatever, like getting one of your games to run through itch. So I ended up just buying it. But then it was, I started following you on Twitter soon after and saw Super Kiwi 64 was coming out, and that all looked really cool. And then you're like, oh yeah, and by the way, there's this like extra game that I made that's just like coming out in a week or whatever. And that was Beanie, which immediately leapt out to me because I love the 3D low poly aesthetic that you and a lot of others have been doing, but this had that really cool Donkey Kong Country 3D rendered 2D thing going on, which I loved so much. And it was a really, again, very simple mechanics in the game. Only really one mechanic, right? It's bouncing, right? But it was like, it grabbed me right away with its visuals and then really drew me in to like complete it and get all the best times. Can you tell me a little bit about that game and like kind of experimenting back into this 2D style after you'd done the 3D thing for a bit?
So Beanie started a week after Toree 3D's release.
Okay.
Because like I wanted to take at least 2 weeks off, because the end of the Toree 3D was a bit of a hassle, bit crunchy, because there were like a few really mean bugs, and we had problems in Switch, which were all my fault. But so I kind of also like kind of promised him to take some time off, to just relax, and then relaxing for me means basically to try out ideas that I had in my mind forever. And I just like at some point I was toying around with like these pre-rendered backgrounds like in Resident Evil, like in the early Resident Evils, and I just had this random idea, like, okay, if I can make backgrounds in this kind of pre-rendered style very easily, I could also try out a very simple character. So I basically, I kind of did and just looked what I can do with minimal effort, and was like big ball B.
Yeah.
And I was playing a lot of Donkey Kong Country 3 at the end of the Toree development, because I think it just released on the NSO thing, and I think it was actually the game that kind of finally pushed me over the edge to try it out to get this. Also the Super Nintendo controllers, it was I was completely in the mood, and I just tried it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, after the B worked, the tree was easy, so it kind of just all came together. And then I had this jumping up from the beginning, and I felt like, this is not working. And then I tried out the normal one, but the way Beanie controls just doesn't work like a side crawler. And I just put it aside, and it also kind of, after Toree worked, it just didn't feel like it would fit anywhere anymore, because it's a completely different style.
Right.
But then at some point I was like, hold up, I was doing the 4x3, right? So I only have like this very close tree branches. And then I kind of realized that, no, we're living in modern times.
Doesn't have to be exactly like Donkey Kong Country 3,
So I figured, okay, I have more space. I can actually do levels when you go upwards. So
sure, yeah, with some actual horizontal movement in it. Yeah.
Then I thought, okay, but I still can't release it because it doesn't fit anywhere. And then I thought, oh wait, I'm doing the Kiwi thing. This is also kind of rare.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, now it makes sense. That's also why I put in the spoilers, the ending part.
Yeah, which was a total surprise to me. I beat it, and I was like, oh, there's a whole Super Kiwi level in here as well, right? Which is only in that game. I don't think that level wasn't in Super Kiwi 64.
No,
right?
No, it was. It's just a very, very simple thing that I came up with it at the very end, because originally the game ended after that cutscene where the dog character is like, hey, wake up, that's it, And then it was the credits, and I was like, yeah, this is boring, and it doesn't really have anything to do with Kiwi. So I ported the Kiwi script engine over. I made the small level all in 2 days, because I was going to send it over to being ported, but I kind of wanted to have this special final thing. So yeah.
No, it was super fun, and again, it was a little bite-sized experience, but it was like. It was something else that I hadn't really seen before, where it's like that style that is so nostalgic, right? For someone, I love the Donkey Kong trilogy originally, and that visual style is to this day holds up just because it's so unique and weird looking, right?
Yeah.
And so it's seeing that was really refreshing, and then also a game that focused a lot on vertical movement for platforming is pretty rare as well. So it was a great and I know it was obviously this smaller project you were doing in between stuff, but that one really stuck with me a lot. And then it's cool too, just how it does fit into Super Kiwi 64. And I feel like a lot of your games do that. Where they kind of have these through lines, or they're kind of all set in the same world, or you know what I mean? And maybe just to, greater and lesser degrees, but but I love that idea of it. And again, it's just something that gives it a lot of cohesion, as you're going from game to game, and gives a little bit of value add for the player, if they have played your other games, right?
And it's easy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and it's probably easy to share assets. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I have a lore question.
Yeah.
Would Beanie and Kiwi be friends, or are they more like coworkers?
Oh, they are friends.
Oh, they're friends.
They all friends.
Okay. They all get along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big round B.
Yeah.
Yeah, big round guys, they tend to stick together.
That makes sense. Yeah. Kind of on the David, you were talking about kind of the nostalgic feeling, and Marcus, you were mentioning that you're playing Donkey Kong Country 3. How often do you find yourself thinking about gamers who maybe don't have these frame of references or how do you appeal to the folks who, like for us, we probably grew up playing these N64 games or these PlayStation 1 games. Like, how often do you find yourself thinking about the gamer that's maybe 20, 21 or below?
Kind of not at all.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
But like, I mean,
pick your battles. Yeah.
No. The thing is, when I make these games, I usually don't think about any target group or whatever. I just kind of make these because I want to make them. And
love that.
I do. However, I'm fully aware that okay, these games look like games I played when I was a kid or a teenager or whatever, and obviously it will speak more to people in more like my age category. But surprisingly, especially with Toree, it just stuck with a lot of people who are in fact younger and maybe know that there was like a PlayStation before the second one or whatever, but not necessarily played it. It's just like this, these colorful vibes, and especially the music, especially like in the second one, it just like still it speaks to like this whole vibe thing. I don't know. It just apparently still works.
Yeah, I love the aesthetic. I think like the fashion industry is always cyclical. I remember wearing bucket hats, in high school, but now bucket hats are cool again. And like the aesthetic of these games are both like they feel new and familiar all at the same time.
Your games are the bucket hats of games.
Your games are maybe. I've been trying to think of a metaphor this entire episode of where I've thought about like maybe your games are like grocery store sushi. It's still sushi at the end of the day, but it's like grocery store sushi, but still like fucking great.
I'll chow down on
I don't know. So
sushi.
These metaphor ideas, I don't know if you have a metaphor of how you think about your games too.
I do actually. I was even thinking of introducing it at some point, but I figured, I don't know enough about PR and marketing. I was, like trying to call them snack games, because that's basically what they are.
Good. Yeah.
But never did.
Well, you I kind of got one last thing, and this sort of brings it back to Super Kiwi 64 a bit too. It's like, and you just brought it up, which I'm glad you did. Is vibes? Like, I feel like vibes are like so important, right? Like, and Toree's got this like fun, playful vibe. Obviously, Super Kiwi 64 has that too, and it's got that kind of collectathon, exploration vibe, right? And then also in addition to that, I feel like all of your games have this like tinge of darkness, right? And like a little bit of a looming sort of evil somewhere in the back. And I think, you obviously have that with some of like, I guess the villains, you could call them from the Toree games, if you wanted to call them that, or like the big boss. And then Super Kiwi 64 has a lot of these like kind of idols everywhere, right? And then there's also this crazy like text, I mean, these kind of runes that you can find throughout that, again, not to spoil too much for this hour-long game, but it's like, I just wonder where does that come from, first of all, that weird darkness, and then also like how important to you is like vibe when you're like setting out to do the aesthetic of your games or like kind of the visual design and stuff like that?
Okay, so first of all, the whole spooky stuff, I have no idea where it comes from. It's just like
just like some dark stuff in your past that you maybe haven't identified yet. Or...
Yeah, like at some point I want to just work on a game, suddenly realize it, and like, and that's it. No, it's kind of like I always like this whole of something cutesy, something childish in a way that gets confronted with something more serious. I'm not necessarily speaking about Shadow the Hedgehog, but I do love Shadow the Hedgehog, character and game. But cool. It's just like this whole twisting it a bit, turning without actual damage. Like there are no characters in my games who actually die or whatever. But just like this, okay, there's a corpse sitting. Well, what's that corpse? What's going on? Yeah. And for the second thing, it's also kind of I guess it plays into the whole vibe thing. because like vibes in games for me are as important as the right gameplay feel thingy.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we're living in an age where you can actually say vibe and people get what you mean, because for the longest time, I was always like, yeah, it's like, atmosphere, and people like, what? And at some point they even got like angry at the word atmosphere, and people started hating people who used the word atmosphere. Like, okay.
Vibe is way less syllables as well, which is a lot easier to say. Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically it's really important to me. Like if the vibe, including like the graphics, don't really work, then I don't continue working on something.
Yeah. No, totally. And I think, and that also speaks to where we're at with game distribution now, right? It's like, if you're going through, you've got a little bit of extra money in your Switch account, or you're looking to buy a game and you're going through and checking out screenshots or whatever, it's like vibe is what you're going to see, right? It's like, what's the general tone? Like what, and so like getting something that can be really well explained through, a collection of 4 or 5 screenshots and a trailer or something, like, it's like super important. I've picked up tons of games that I've been like, this isn't really for me, but I judged the book by its cover and now I have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
same.
and that's fine. I think that's good. And and with so many games, and we're in this kind of golden age of indies right now, it's like, it's really nice to be able to just like see stuff that resonates with you in particular and be like, I'm going to give this a try and kind of try this out or whatever. That's how I end up buying indie games anyway.
Yeah, same. I also like, I almost never read descriptions. Like, I know I should, but it's just, how you scroll through these stores. Like, you don't take the time to actually read the description. You just look at the trailer, at the screenshots, and if that works and you got questions, then you read it. But most of the time I just buy the game and,
Totally. It helps when they're $1.
Yeah.
Marcus, you called your games snack games. If there was a particular snack, would it be like a chocolate or like chips or pretzels? What would be your snack of choice?
For my games, like a beanie would definitely be like these tiny pretzels. Like these snack pretzels. Kiwi would be a bag of chips.
Okay.
Like
nice.
The whole, like including the packaging. You eat it out of the packaging.
The crunchiness of it.
Yeah. Toree would probably be like, something like this. Like, some colorful bubblegum thing.
Totally. Yeah. I feel like does he blow bubbles in that? Is he chewing gum in that game?
No.
The sound when he dies, though, that kind of sounds like a bubble pop.
Toree is the bubblegum.
Yeah, great. And then I guess my last thing before we wrap up would just be like, how has the response been to Super Kiwi 64? I know you've been working on it for a while.
How much more time do we have? Because this is that's the entire book. Very emotional. Like, okay, that's basically not true. Like, basically all the reviews the game got are like, it's like, I don't know, it's a game, maybe.
Yeah.
But there have been like a lot of emotional feedback from players, from content creators. Basically, the whole game, in a way, was carried by like very ambitious content creators. It was amazing. But especially in comments, there's like basically some really extreme negative ones. I've never seen stuff like this. Like, people actually attacked other people for liking the game, which was honestly kind of sad. But sometimes I do get why, because it looks like Banjo-Kazooie. It looks way too much like Banjo-Kazooie. I tried to, go and, take that style, go into something, in a different direction with the darkness and all that, but it still looks like Banjo-Kazooie, and people kind of sometimes feel the need to, in a way, protect the game, from like some weird little indie guy who, just copies the style, makes the game cheap. Here, buy my game so I can, buy more ramen or whatever.
Yeah.
So I totally get that, and I'm not angry about this at all. But also there were like a lot of very emotional, positive reaction, and that is just like, again, I've never seen this sort of reaction to my games. You know, like with Macbat, it was like either, oh, this is kind of cute, or oh, this is not really good. With Toree, it was like very, I mean, also emotional, but different way. You know, like less deep, more simple, happy emotions.
Sure.
But with this one, it's really, and I still kind of have to figure out what this means. You know?
Yeah.
Can we talk about? Yeah, that makes me wonder a couple of things. Number one, like I wonder if it's because your games are more popular. Like you could be the arbiter of this better than I could, but it makes me wonder if your visibility is higher, so you're gonna just get a more range of emotions. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have more people doing it.
Just like more eyes will lead to more people that are unsavory.
Yeah, and then
that makes a lot of sense.
The other thing about it that ties into that, I think, is that these type of shorter, cheaper games, there's going to be resistance to it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, sure.
Conscious and unconscious, right? People are going to be like, "You're selling cheap stuff that's ripoffs," but they aren't being thoughtful about it, right? It's like a knee jerk kind of thing. And anybody that's pushing something in a direction that's not the mainstream is going to get that kind of blowback, I think.
Yeah. And
I could be wrong. Those are just my initial, like, you say that and I'm like, ooh, that makes me wonder if some of it is.
Yeah, no, I think you're actually like completely right. Especially the first one. I just haven't thought about this at all. But yeah, looking like, you know, when Toree happened, it was, you know, like nobody played it at first. Nobody even looked at it. So it makes sense. And for the second part, no, definitely. And I mean, I do get it. I also am always like, you know, when I enjoy a game, I'm just like kind of sad when it's, you know, when I'm getting to the end too quickly. And I do absolutely agree. You get to the end very quickly, maybe too quickly in Kiwi. So yeah, and it's also like, I do also think that, especially the trailers and screenshots and all that kind of gave the impression of a bigger game, unfortunately.
With like the number of biomes or whatever that are. Yeah. I could see that. Yeah.
Definitely.
But,
and especially because there were more trailers this time, not just like one at the end or whatever. Because, you know, the game got announced in April, which was like way earlier than I would have, you know, announced it if it would just been, you know, like me announcing a game. So I really didn't know what to do, so I filled the time with like more stuff, and yeah, that was probably also a reason, I guess.
At the end of the day, I mean, like I said, they're snacks, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're getting what you pay for, right? And it's not like you're deceiving anyone with like having a higher price games. I think people these days are just very spoiled by massive deep discount slashing the price sales, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To where they're like, oh, well, I paid $3 for Jedi Fallen Order on Steam, so I should have like a game that's that, you know, or whatever, right? And
no, totally.
Yeah, but either way, I love it. Don't let the haters get you down. Because,
it's way more positive reactions.
Yeah,
than,
good.
You know, negative.
And when it comes to the spiritual successor stuff, like I am like 100% on board with that these days. You know what I mean? It's like anytime, like we had recently Aaron Mac 64 who does Aero GPX. He's doing like, it's like a very F-Zero style racer, like F-Zero X style racer that he's been pushing. We had him on recently, and I was telling him the same thing. It's like we're at this point where it's like, you know, the people who own the rights to Banjo-Kazooie are not making Banjo-Kazooie games. So if you want to make a game that's like Banjo-Kazooie, you should, you know, and I think it's great. I think there's people want those kinds of games, and now they're coming out. And I mean, obviously, I know being compared to games like that probably also doesn't help, but it's like, you know, and especially in terms of content, right? But it's like, but I just think I love that. I'm all for that. I think like the age of the indie developed spiritual successor is upon us, and I'm all for it. And I eat up pretty much all of them that come out. And so I'd say keep doing what you're doing.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Then I think we can move on to the next part of our show. Marcus, is there anything you want to say that we didn't get to say before we move about your process or anything?
Not really.
Nope.
It's actually not that special. Like I'm just sitting in front of my PC at night doing so, listening to very unfitting music for the game I'm currently working on, and yeah,
there you go.
Very good.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about the games that we've been playing recently. I actually have a game to talk about that's not Splatoon, which has been, the main game I've been talking about recently.
Yeah.
Finally played something else. I've been playing a game called The Wayward Strand, which is a narrative game. It's made by a company called Ghost Pattern. It actually was featured in an indie world a few indie worlds back. It came out in the fall. I picked it up on a Steam sale, and I have been playing it recently. So it's like a story-based game, which is just like kind of what I wanted. I wanted something super chill. I've been playing it in bed at night before I go to sleep on my Steam Deck. It's also, I just love, it's kind of like a walking simulator meets a visual novel. Like you just walk around this hospital. You're like a 15-year-old girl whose mom is a nurse, and you have to help her out a little bit, and you're just walking around visiting these patients. And it's set in a Zeppelin. Like it's a hospital that's in an air ship. It's like after, I don't know, it's like the 80s or the late 70s. And I don't know.
Wow, interesting. It's like a cruise ship, but it's a hospital.
But they're not on a cruise. It's like permanently docked. I don't know who. It's a weird.
That sounds great.
And it was converted into a hospital. It's a weird like setup. But then what I love is that there's all these Australian accents, like all these characters, because they're all voice acted, and it's just great. I don't know, like I don't know, super chill. There's not like this is one of those things where I think video games are still kind of like evolving. And that's why this whole talk about short video games, like, right? Like this is something that is happening. This narrative thing that's happening. We don't have good words for these things, but like it's real time, but it's not like Animal Crossing real time. It's like a day will happen, right? Like in an hour or whatever. And you can kind of walk around and experience different things, and those things are going to happen whether you're there or not, kind of. But it can change by you being there, if that makes sense. So it's an interesting game. I don't know if it flawlessly executes it, but it's just super chill, and it's kind of like hanging out with your grandparents, like a little bit. Like you're just listening to all these old people in this hospital tell stories and stuff, and I don't know. I'm enjoying it. So
nice. Yeah, it looks like it's included in that New Year sale as well right now on Switch, which is cool.
Good to know.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I need to check that game out. That looks really cool.
Man, that sounds so cool.
Very chill.
I love chill games. I have been playing Escape Simulator because I went to go book an escape room for my birthday, but chose the wrong date on the date picker. So that was a several $100 mistake.
Oh no! Modern problems.
So I felt dumb. So I needed the itch of escape rooms, and been playing Escape Simulator with some friends online. But that's nice. That's about it. And then waiting to start our JRPG club game after this next sketch show when I have some free time.
Nice. Yeah, very good. I'll go next. I have been playing a bit of Chained Echoes. I played about an hour and a half yesterday. The game is great. You're going to really enjoy it, Matt. I know you really like SNES era RPGs, and it really captures that element really well. Yeah. So I've been playing a little bit of that. I installed AM2R on my Steam Deck the other day, so I've been playing a little bit of the Metroid 2 fan remake. That's been really fun. Just kind of like, a lot of it was just getting it to run, right? Following tutorials and stuff like that. But then other than that, I put a little bit more Melatonin, that Rhythm Heaven that's kind of like hipster indie vibes. That game is really awesome. I streamed a little bit of that. I really enjoyed it. Tetris 99. I've been getting back into that game, and I actually beat my first Invictus Cup round. If you don't know what that is, it's basically if you win first place and get a Maximus, like Tetris Maximus in like a 99 person game, you can play this mode that's only for people that have beaten it. And then, so I've been playing this game forever and like finally won an Invictus round. And I felt so good. I felt so good that I screenshotted it and like tweeted it at Hideki Kamiya, who is constantly posting, Tetris 99 footage on Twitter, and then I just instantly got blocked by Hideki Kamiya. So that's
surprisingly.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm the only one who's ever been blocked by him, so I'm really special.
David, I have some wonderful story to tell you. I was at a party and someone bought a Switch for the first time, and they were like, I downloaded this game. It's Tetris 99, and I have no idea what's going on. I just want to play Tetris.
Oh, yeah, it is not for the faint of heart of Tetris. But man, yeah, I fucking love Tetris. I love that game is just like still so fun, and you can always find matches. And then lastly, I mean, obviously, other than I've been replaying some of your games, Marcus, leading up to this interview, but other than that, I did pick up during the sale Pac-Man World Repack. It is like basically like the remake of Pac-Man World for the PlayStation. And I've been having a great time with it, man. I love that era of 3D platformers too, where it's kind of like the faux, it's like the 2.5D, like Pandemonium or like Klonoa kind of style. And Pac-Man World is a little bit more puzzle centric than those games are, a little bit less actiony than the other ones. But this is a good remake. If you do get it on Switch, which I would recommend, it's really enjoyable, especially if you played the original game. Put it into performance mode, which I did not. This is the first Switch game I've ever seen that has a quality mode and a performance mode. But the quality mode is like looks barely any better than performance mode, and the frame rate is terrible. But if you play it in performance mode, it runs super smooth and looks really good. So that's what I would recommend. And I was waiting for it to go on a little bit of a sale. $30 is a little bit too expensive for me for a game I've basically played before. But it's great, man. I'm really enjoying that and kind of revisiting that game myself. But, Marcus, what about you? What have you been playing recently?
I've been playing a game called Creep Wars TD, which is one of these questionable looking Steam games. It's basically if you combine like these very simple, more casual ways of tower defense games with assets that are, well, they are bored and they meant to look like Warcraft 3. And I bought this game for, just for jokes basically, and got really, really into it, like really into it. I bought it 2 days ago and I already have like 5 hours into it, which is a lot for me. Like I don't play games that much anymore, because unfortunately because of time. But yeah, and then I found out that the guy who made this also has a YouTube channel and has like documented some of the development. So then I started to like it even more, because now I know that behind all of this jankiness is like someone who was like really trying and put his heart into it, and like, yeah, it's fun for me. Probably not for everyone else, but I like it.
Gotcha. Well, based on what you said about your development process, I guess we can expect a tower defense game starring the cup of ramen coming up pretty soon.
Oh yeah, no. Like, I like playing this sort of stuff, but I don't want to make this. This is
It seems like it'd be really complicated. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like nothing jumps, nothing moves, nothing is nah.
Yeah,
not my
totally. Anything else you've been playing?
Another tower defense game that was kind of it wasn't good. It was like one of these from mobile ported to Steam kind of things, but
right.
Nah.
Yeah. Very good.
Oh, and sorry, Kirby's Dream Buffet. Finally.
Oh,
After forever, and it's really fun. I really like it, especially after getting my butt kicked the first few times. Like completely.
Yeah, that game is super fun. Kind of again, like simple 3D platforming, like race sort of thing. I love that game. It's a very unique
colorful,
game.
Yeah, kind of more my style.
Yeah, exactly. Very good.
Awesome. Well, that does it for this week's episode. Marcus, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you for having me. It was fun.
Thank you to milkyway.co, who does our website. Thank you to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, you can find me most places as PDYX.
I'm on Twitter, Matthew, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Marcus? Where can people find you online?
Well, on Twitter, I'm at Siactro. And on YouTube, I'm also just Siactro. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Very good.
Also on Itch.io, where I'm also Siactro.
Very good. Yes. Yeah,
And
definitely
Steam.
check
And
out all
Steam.
his pages.
I'm sorry, I have a Steam, these franchise websites. And this is the real important one. So,
Yeah, definitely check out the games on Steam. That's a great place to support. Or on Itch. I feel like Itch is a great way to get them as well. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, folks, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We got a website, switchheads.com, and we got our Discord. Please join our Discord. We'd love to have you in there. Discord's always popping. It's popping right now with the Splatfest. Having a lot of fun. As soon as this is done, I'm going to get like the last 30 minutes of the Splatfest in. If anybody, Patrick, if you want to play with me afterwards. But we're doing lots of cool stuff in there. We're doing our JRPG club. We're having a really good time. So make sure you join us at our Discord and our Facebook group. We'll have links to both of those in the description of this show. And that's going to do it. Once again, Marcus, thank you so much. What a pleasure having you on. Big fan of your games. It was so great to be able to talk to you about this stuff. And
Yes,
and we'll
please
be back.
continue to make snack games for us.
Yeah.
We want them.
Honestly, you've been like an
Right.
inspiration for me because I was like, I'm really stuck on this longer, not like a super long game. And I'm like, if I ever finish this game, I'm going to make like an hour-long game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Should. It's fun.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
More
the way,
snacks.
It's
More
the way to do
snacks.
it. Yeah. I'm just hungry now after all this.
Yeah, same. Maybe that's why I never used that term, because it's just,
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, that's going to do it, everybody. You guys know the drill. We'll be back next week with an all new episode. But in the meantime, stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. We love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.